Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be wrapping up the 2019 New England Revolution preseason as well as looking ahead to the 2019 season opener down in Dallas. Alright, I mentioned in my last video the Revolution had just finished their trip to Spain where they had a fair amount of success, 1 win, 1 loss, and 2 draws. And then going on the second leg to Florida and down in Bradenton at the IMG Academy where they ended up having 5 more games. Their results there were not as good as it was in Spain. However, some of the performance had something to look forward to. The first game they played was against Louisville City, the team that knocked us out of the U.S. Open Cup last year. And the Revolution did suffer a 3-1 defeat. With Cody Cropper was the goalie in that game. And he didn't have anything bad. Some defensive lapses led to the goals. But it was the youngster Justin Rennicks who scored the lone goal for the Revolution. It was a nice goal at that, so he's definitely a very good game. However, the team as a whole was not the greatest as it could have been. The second game of the Revolution's trip down to Florida was against Minnesota United in the inaugural Orlando City Invitational. And the Revolution against Minnesota United, a team that's actually looking to be pretty solid this year as some big signings, including goalkeeper Vito Manone, and obviously another full year with Darwin Quintero as the attacker. It was a very interesting game. The Revolution were actually fairly dominant for most of the game, better chances, more of them as well. However, an error by the goalkeeper Brad Knighton, also getting a 90 in the game, ended up costing a goal as the player got the ball right from Knighton, rounded him, and easily put it into the open net. So they suffered a 1-0 defeat there, but it was a very promising performance against the MLS side. And the third game is the one that's kind of the most talked about online, and that was the second game of the Orlando City Invitational, and that was against Orlando City, the hosts. This game did not go well for the Revolution, as it ended up being a complete embarrassment. The Revolution ended up going down 6-0 going into the final few minutes when Teal Bunbury added 2 goals to make it a 6-2 defeat. Now, it was definitely an embarrassment of a game where the Revolution conceded a whole lot of goals. They started with the game with 1 CDM that was just Luis Caicedo, and then they were seeing 2 goals in about 4 minutes, one of which was an own goal, and that was a bad play. However, it was kind of an iffy play by. There was also a penalty kick that was off a handball. So those first goals, kind of avoidable, not the best to concede, but they're not the worst either. And then in the second half, they decided to take off Diego Fagundes and bring on Scott Caldwell to try and make the midfield 2 again to sit right in front of the back 4. However, it got much worse there, as the Revs conceded 4 goals in 12 minutes just after the start of halftime. Within the first 2 minutes of the second half, they conceded the first goal and allowed another 3 goals in the next 12 minutes. And another one of those goals was actually a penalty kick that was off of a Turner foul, which was, again, not a very smart play by him. And another one of those goals kind of went right through Turner. So the other goals were not so bad on the part of Turner, kind of good plays, but it was also a defensive breakdown that let chances in. So the team kind of, as a whole, they struggled mightily against Orlando City. After that, everyone was talking about whether the Revs were going to be good or not, or they were going to be bad. And after that game, the next day actually, they had a little bit of a scrimmage, 2 40-minute halves against USL League One side, Greenville Triumph. They're brand new to the league this year. And the Revs ended up taking a 4-1 win. Diego scored the first goal from a distance. The trialist, the team is not officially named, but it's been figured out to be Giles Phillips, he scored a nice header on a Pania cross. Then Pania ended up getting a goal himself from the edge of the area, when Brian Wright ended the scoring with a nice little cool finish around the keeper. And the Revs actually did go down 1-0 in that game before Diego tied it up in the 16th minute. However, Greenville nearly got a goal late on with another penalty kick, one of many the Revs conceded. I believe there were 5 or 6 penalty kicks the Revs conceded over preseason, which is not a very good sign for this team's discipline. But luckily, Cody Cropper, who got the full 90 in that game, did make a huge save on that penalty kick at the end. But yeah, it was a nice first win over in Florida for the Revs. And then they ended up going a couple days later playing on Icelandic side, FK Reykjavik. And this one was a very fun one. The only game that actually was officially streamed online. The Revolution got a quick start with Christian Pinilla penalty kick in the 11th minute. However, in the 70th minute, Brandon Bai and Matt Turner both made mistakes and led to a goal that tied it up at 1. But then Luis Caicedo, finishing off a shot from DeJuan Jones, made a 2-1 Revolution win to end the preseason on a high note. So all in all, the Revs did end up going 3 wins, 4 losses, and 2 ties throughout the entirety of preseason, which is okay, especially when they had good results over in Spain. But the Florida trip, especially Orlando, brought a lot of doubts with this team and whether they can actually do anything going forward. And recently there have been predictions made by MLS and a whole bunch of people where the Revolution are consistently being picked to be bottom 3 in the Eastern Conference. Where in the MLS one, there was 2 people that picked them 10th, 2 that picked them 11th, and 1 picked them 12th of the 12-team Eastern Conference. The one odd spot was Charlie Davies picking the Revolution to finish 6th, but Charlie Davies also is connected with the Revolution as the club ambassador. So that was definitely not a good sign right there from that preseason. However, I'm still confident the Revolution will be a playoff team this year, and they're more like Charlie Davies' prediction of 6th place than the rest of the MLS analysts saying they're going to be 10th, 11th, or 12th. Apart from the games, this preseason has also ended with some more injuries and signings. The big signing was the Revolution signing 11th overall draft pick DeJuan Jones to a full contract. He was on trial in the preseason, and now he's officially up with the Revs. And he'll be wearing the number 24, and he's the first Revolution player since Lee Nguyen to wear the number 24 jersey. And now, on the topic of signings, today, the 28th, which is Thursday, today I'm recording this, there's an interview Brad Friel did with Zolak and Bertrand on radio, and he was saying how the Revolution will be signing a designated player in the next month, so hopefully soon after the first game or 2 of the season. But they're saying that the Revolution will sign a designated player to go on top of the Carlos Gil signing that was made earlier this preseason. And they also said that he said that there was 3 targets that they're in negotiations with daily. So I'm interested in seeing if there's any rumors that are coming out, who it is. I have a feeling that one of those players will be Bojan Krkic, just because of how often he was linked to the Revolution throughout the entirety of preseason. But I'm interested in seeing who else is possibly being looked at by the Revolution. And I'm also wondering who they're going to be going for as their primary target. And now, looking at some injuries that have occurred over the break, there was one that's probable, and that's Isaac Anking. He suffered a quad injury. However, he is nearing full fitness, and he should be back in time for the Dallas game. However, there are 2 injuries that are a little more concerning. One of them to the new striker, Juan Fernando Caicedo. He suffered a bit of a muscular injury, and he is day-to-day. They're hoping to have him back for Dallas, but there's no guarantee. Most likely, I would think Teal Bunbury will be starting, which I'm going to get into a little later. However, the base injury was before the trip to Florida. Andrew Farrell ended up suffering an eye injury while after a training thing in Boston or Foxborough, and he didn't end up traveling with the team, and he's still not well. So they're hoping he's going to be back, but there's a good chance he will not be healthy enough for the season opener this Saturday or the home opener next Saturday. But they are hopeful he will be back soon. And now, thinking of going back to the entirety of preseason, just kind of wrap it up, there were some players who definitely stood out to me as players to watch for the season after having a very good preseason. The number 1 player to me had to have been Justin Rennicks. The homegrown signing was far and away the best player the Revolution had this entire preseason. He had a couple goals, had a few assists, just very active all around, and it being one of the best players on the field all the time, showing a lot of pace and skill. The second player who also showed a lot was Tajon Buchanan, the 9th overall draft pick. Very similar to Rennicks, very pacey, very skillful, has a good work rate. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do this year with the Revolution, even if he doesn't get starts. I feel like Rennicks will be a lot earlier on. Then going to some starters, Wilfred Zahibo, I think he really set himself up to be a starting CDM in this team for the beginning of the season. He had a very solid preseason, very few errors, good passing, good tackling, everything we really need out of a CDM. And obviously Christian Pinilla was our leading goal scorer this preseason, had 3 goals, so he definitely had to be a standout performer. Alright, so that's at the end of the preseason wrap-up. Now, again, the Revolution as a whole wasn't the best preseason. Started well, but ended kind of poorly. However, now we're looking ahead to the first game of the season, which is in 2 days' time. The Revolution will be traveling down to Dallas to take on FC Dallas at 4:30 Eastern Time on Saturday. I'm going to be watching the game, and I'm really excited to see what the Revolution can do in the competitive atmosphere. And now, it'll be definitely a tough game as the Revolution have opened up the season on the road for all but one of the seasons in MLS. But they also tend to have issues. They've only won 4 times on their season openers, all by a 1-0 scoreline, including one in 1997 against FC Dallas, or at the time it was Dallas Burn. But I do think the Revolution, they do have a chance of winning because Dallas, they didn't have the best preseason either. Their team hasn't made too many significant improvements. I still think it'll be a tough game, but I think the Revs could take this away with a 2-1 win. That'll be my prediction. But I'm looking at the lineup. For me, most of the lineup is fairly set in stone. The issues would be the right back, striker, goalkeeper, and one of the center mids. For me, Cody Cropper had the best preseason of all Revolution players, so he should be the goalie who starts opening day against Dallas. Now, Matt Turner, I think, is within a reason because he was our goalie last year. Brett Knight, for me, had the worst preseason of the 3 goalies, so I would not expect him to get the game time to start the season. Looking at the defense, for me, Andrew Farrell is the number 1 right back. However, if he's not 100%, Brandon Bye will be the guy who steps in instead. Then look at the rest of the defense. De La Mea and Mencien both had very average preseasons, but they ended up forming a really good partnership over Anibaba, who did not have, he was kind of the same in terms of preseason performance. But I would expect the Slovenian De La Mea and the Englishman Mencien to be the starters. And at the left back, there's only one option, that's Edgar Castillo. Gabriel Somi, he's not ready to be a starting left back in this league. So I'm going to give that start to one of the players who was one of the best left backs in MLS last year. In midfield, for me, Luis Caicedo is pretty much a lock to be in midfield. Been a workhorse. He's arguably one of the best players on the team last year, was one of the most underrated. So I think he's a lock as a starter. However, I would put him next to Wilfred Zahibo over Scott Caldwell purely because of Zahibo's size and strength. I think having Caldwell and Caicedo together would be 2 players with similar abilities. So you need someone that'd be the physical guy, and you have someone who's the passer. So I think that's what the Revolution will be doing with Zahibo next to Caicedo. Looking at the attacking midfield, those 3 are fairly set in stone as well, in my opinion. But I think perhaps Renix could squeeze in, or Juan Agudelo could also play. But I would say it's going to be Pinilla on the left, Diego on the right, and Carles Gil in behind the striker. That seemed to be a very common theme for a lot of people's predictions for teams. And I think Pinilla, Gil, those 2 are locked as starters because of 1, performance, and 2, the name. But Diego's also going to be a starter for me because he also had a fairly decent preseason, getting a couple good goals. And then looking at the striker, personally, I would love to see Juan Fernando Caicedo start. But because he's not likely to be perfectly fit, I would likely see Teal Bunbury be the one up top, leading the line. Now, Juan Agudelo very well could be that player. However, he didn't really have a big impact on this preseason. So I would go with Teal Bunbury, who is probably the most informed striker, next to Brian Wright. But Brian Wright is, to me, not ready to be a starter compared to Teal Bunbury. So yeah, I also do think Mencien will be named the captain, unfortunately. I mean, he's not my first choice to be captain. He's a good person to be captain. But I'd rather have someone who's been with the team a long time, like an Andrew Farrell or Diego Fagundes, Scott Caldwell, even a Teal Bunbury possibly. Just someone who's been with the team for a few years. They know more of the ins and outs, and they can just kind of get everyone together. So there you have it. There's my prediction for the lineup for the Revolution game against FC Dallas this Saturday, as well as look at the preseason that just finished up. Now, I'm going to leave a link again in the description to Revs Fan TV. One of the first videos, which was from the season member welcome event that I was at, that was been live last week, and there should also be a video going up after the game against Dallas, as one of the people involved with the channel is going down to the game, and I believe is going to be recording stuff for the channel. If there's not anything then, there will be something for the home opener, which is March 9th. There might be a previews prediction video for that, but I know that I'll be recording the trip down there. You'll also see some post-match interviews with fans. So just look for that. Just click the link in the description. Just go get a look, subscribe to them. And well, that's it for me, and I will see you in the next video. It should be a preview of the home opener / review of this last game. So see you next time.